I was told, I'm not going to say who told me because I don't want to embarrass Nancy, that if you can't say what you want to in 20 minutes, people lose their interest. So we were talking the last Sunday about that. That's been on my mind all week long. And I agree. And I got about 20 minutes to preach my sermon this morning. I do want to push the idea of this video that I have. It should answer any question that you have concerning Noah's Ark, because it does explore it in great detail. I'm going to share something with you. Last night I turned my phone off because it's running low and I didn't want to have to get up and charge it. So I forgot about turning it off, and when I picked it up this morning I realized it was off. So I kicked it on. Ruth wasn't there when I did it. She went out to the cemetery. And when I turned the phone on, I got this text from her. Too many people, I wish they go home. How many of you gone to the cemetery in the past few days just to be able to decorate a grave? I tell you, where my wife is buried is turning into a very beautiful place, simply because people love their loved ones. And they are going out to be able to show their love and their appreciation. I served a church down in Corbin, Kentucky. And Ruth can testify to this because she lives there. After Mother's Day, if not Mother's Day, they have all these cemeteries, their trustees set a day, a Sunday, that they call decoration for that particular cemetery. It's like a great big homecoming. Except when you come to church Sunday morning, half the church is not there because they're gone to the cemetery. I think it's good. I think it's good that we remember our loved ones. Several months ago, my daughter Mary Alice, who lives in the southern part of Indiana, right across the river from Louisville, came in to visit. She says, "Dad, I have something that you might be interested in." And she handed me this little contraption right here. It was my dad's billfold. It had already been cannibalized by all the important papers taken from it. When I say important papers, I'm talking about pictures of Abraham Lincoln and George Washington and all those. There's a sentiment here, because I have my dad's Social Security card. I have his Blue Cross of Western Pennsylvania. I have his union card for the United Steelworkers of America. I have his registration card for his voters. Now I'll tell you something. I won't give you $1 million I'm going to take $1 million for this, because it's my dad. But in this particular billfold, there was a pocket-sized picture of my mom and dad. I looked at Steve. I showed him the picture. I said, "Steve, can you blow this up?" And I'm not talking about putting it in little pieces. You can keep that. But there is the picture that Steve blew up. I have been doing my best to remember when this picture was taken. Personally, I don't remember Dad having that much hair. Nor do I remember my mom being that skinny until the latter days of her life. And the best thing that I can remember is that I started delivering newspapers in Pittsburgh, Pennsylvania when I was 9 years of age. I have worked hard in my life ever since then. But after I started delivering newspapers, I got my brother, who is a year and a half older than I am, a paper route in which he actually was making more money than I was, simply because I was illegal. Pittsburgh would not allow a boy to deliver newspapers until they were at least 11. So I was illegal, so I had the small route until I turned 12. But my brother and I, one Christmas, pulled our money together and went to a photographer who attended the Bellevue Christian Church where I was raised. And I remember talking to them about taking family pictures. The wife of the man happened to be our Sunday school teacher. And she used her influence on her husband to give us a good price. If I remember right, this is when this picture was taken. And it has done an awful lot for Phil Faust, Jr. Don't you dare start calling me Junior. Do you remember some of the things that happened during my childhood? The only reason I bring this out is that I firmly believe that all of us have a streak of sentimentality in us. I'll kid you not, I have pictures of 2 dogs in my wallet that have long passed away. One belonged to Steve and the other belonged to Ruth. If you go into our home and you happen to see on the wall, right as you leave the house, there's a big picture frame with about 15 different pictures in of 4 different dogs that my kids have. They're worse than I am when it comes to sentimentality. I think it's good that we have a time to remember. By the way, there's a typographical error in the papers that you have with the scriptures on it. If you look at the very top where I have the name of the title, it says a tune to remember rather than a time to remember. That happens to be in those scriptures only. But a time to remember. I think it's great that we have set a day out of the year in which we can remember our loved ones who have passed on before us. I think it's great that we can pause in our busy schedule and yes, Ruth, go out to the cemetery where there's a whole bunch of people as they decorate the graves. I was there yesterday morning. And there was a man that was having as much difficulty as I was trying to put flowers around his wife's grave. And I stopped my car as I was driving around the loop out there. If you've ever been out to the Miller Cemetery, you know what I'm talking about. I didn't know the man, but I said, looking good, to give him some encouragement. He tried to say thank you, but he was all choked up. And then the only thing he was able to say was, I miss her so much. It's good that we have this memory. God blessed us with this memory. Of course, I realize that Memorial Day started out with the decoration of the remembering the war dead. And I'm so glad that it's come down to remembering all those who passed on. It's good. But let's think just for a while about the idea of remembering. Let's think just for a while about the concept of this ability that we have to remember. And we need to realize that if we dwell in the past, there are things in our life that we have done that the devil can use these in order to be able to get us to fall from the grace of God. And I think we ought to look at this idea of our remembering and think about how it applies to our life. We need to take a hard look at just how we use our mind as we think of things in the past. Last Sunday night I heard a preacher make a comment, and I love this preacher to death, don't get me wrong. But he says, don't live in the past because Satan will use it. Then a little bit later on in his sermon, he mentioned the fact, he says, I don't understand why the children of Israel would not go to the promised land. They saw the 10 plagues. They saw the passing through the Red Sea. They were starting to live in the past. There are some things we need to remember. There's some things we need to forget. Two passages came to my mind as I prepared this sermon. Passage number 1